What's up? What is up? What is up? Space Talk time. Yours truly, Arthur Moats in the building. And, one of them ones that I feel like we kind of let get away, man. But, we're going to talk about it anywho, man. Steelers taking the loss 37-30 to the Bengals, falling to 3-7 on the season. So, like we always do, let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. Give you those big boy shout outs. And after that, man, we're going to start this show off the right way. But man, interesting game. Yes, indeed. Oh, and while you all are dropping in those locations, also hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed, and definitely hit that notification bell as well. All right, I see you, Jonathan McDormand, tuning in from 919 Durham, North Carolina. Shout out AJ Martinez. You know he always turned up. Santa Fe, New Mexico in the house. Love that. Mike Hood, tuning in from the 614 Columbus, Ohio. And then we got Darius Mayo in the building, the 410 Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, sir. I see you, Jacob Malicio, always turned up. Researching like you supposed to, my Galaxy traveling partner them, but tuning in from the 919 North Carolina in the house. I see you, Michael Davis. Was that Mandeville, Louisiana? Shout out to Mandeville. I've actually never heard of that before, but shout out to it either way. Zach 4499 to 207 Portland, Maine. Respect, baby. Oh, we got Big Love Leah Warren in the house, tuning in from the 254 Killeen, Texas. Disappointing second half. Leah, you couldn't have said it better right there. 100%, man. The tale of two halves. We're going to definitely talk about it. The Brobarian, tuning from the 757, a.k.a. The Crib. Whew. No, I love the crib, man. I'm actually going to be heading back home, too, very, very soon. So, shout out to my 757 Big Facts, the 412, the South Hills in the house. And we got BG2 Dope. Tuning in from the 434 Danville, Virginia. If I remember correctly, that is the Edmond Brothers spot, I think, right? Danville. All right, and then I will end it with my man Gavin Schneider, tuning in from Toms River, New Jersey, the 732. All righty. But yeah, big time salute to each and every one of y'all that are on the stream today, Definitely appreciate you. Because that game right there was, it was a really interesting one, man. Very interesting. So let's hop into it. Really, it was a tale of two halves, man. For me, when you think about how we played offensively in the first half, number one, I thought Kenny Pickett in that first half, man, was throwing some really nice passes out there. Looked really confident. You could see the growth in his skill level. You could see the growth and the confidence that he was having on the field. And even that was reflected with Matt Canada with some of the calls that were being called as well, man. Scheming up some of these shots downfield, especially early in that first half, just how aggressive the offense was looking. I thought that, he definitely put some pretty passes out there, and it was uncharacteristic in the first half, especially with some of the receivers. Just missed opportunities. The one in the end zone to George Pickens, where he fell down. Yeah, that was rare. Like, we don't see stuff like that too often. But I did like the intent, though. I did like them dialing up that type of shot play early on in the game. Also thought that Pat Frymouth early on, it wasn't like he was having the best of, performances in that first half, man, just in terms of some of the combat catch stuff. But as a whole, I did like how aggressive we looked in that first half. And obviously, Najee Harris, I thought that he was doing a really good job with some of his runs, just looking physical for the second week in a row. Obviously, he had the super impressive touchdown run where he did the hurdle that I like. See, I like when you're jumping into the end zone over a guy. I like that type of hurdling. I don't like the hurdling when it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and he just, we won't need that. But that situation right there in the first half for Najee, that type of hurdling, that type of running, that type of impact was beautiful. I also thought that our offensive line was a lot better in the first half. You look at Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, they really weren't as impactful in that first half as, the difference was in that second half, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But when you're talking about the offensive line, I thought they even looked good. Like, as a whole, it wasn't a lot to complain about offensively in the first half, and that was reflected even with the score, right? They scored 20 points in the first half, but 17 of those came in that second quarter, and you could see how like I said, man, everything was just kind of going their way. George Pickens, like I said in that first half, was definitely starting to show his full potential and his skill set and what he was really capable of. And it was just a good feeling that we had right there. Literally, it seemed like everything was going fine. Even when we're looking at us defensively in that first half, number one, TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith were still, being disruptive, getting to Joe Burrow. He never really looked comfortable. Also thought that the receivers outside of T. Higgins, there really wasn't a lot going on in that first half until obviously T. Higgins started to heat up in that second quarter, and then it was like, whoa, man, this dude is on one today. But we were minimizing the rushing attack. Joe Mixon obviously made some plays, but it wasn't anything that we felt was insurmountable, right? And that was also reflected when you looked at the score. Obviously, they had the 10 points in the first quarter, but outside of that touchdown that second, it was just like, man, we felt a little bit better defensively. Now, could they have been playing better? Sure. But it didn't feel like we couldn't get stops. It didn't feel like we weren't going to be able to get off the field. We felt pretty good. And honestly, man, for me, even when I looked at the 2 touchdowns that they gave up in the first half defensively, the one you had the missed tackle with Spillane, obviously hitting him in the flat. Okay, you make that tackle. It's a different game right there. And then also on the jet sweep, the screen pass where he takes that to the crib as well, man. With that one, that was a little bit more disheartening just because you don't anticipate them being able to score off of a play like that from that far out. But, as a whole, you look at those plays and you're like, man, these are easily corrected. This isn't a mismatch. This isn't something that we can't fix. But, and then also with that first half, my man Matt Wright, he was hitting his field goals. Everything was looking good, right? So you also go to the second half, and that's where you get this shift. Number one, I thought the Bengals offensively did a better job of getting the ball out faster. When you're trying to hold that ball and you have a TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, even Larry Ogunjobi to an extent, it's very hard to go that route, to try to drop back and just air it out with those type of guys rushing. And we could see that was reflected. But what they started to do was get it out quicker. And they really started to highlight that slot matchup with Arthur Marlette. That's my dog. That's my name partner right there. But the Bengals did a good job of knowing that he was going to be in there and making him have to play the combat catch ball. That's something that he's talked about on the show, that he's been working on and stuff like that. And we've seen some success, but we've also seen some where it hasn't been as successful. And the Bengals, they attacked that matchup. And it was smart by them, man. T. Higgins and obviously Tyler Boyd were able to really have some nice plays on him there. And that was really, their answer to the pass rush. And then obviously, even with Joe Mixon going out, Samaje Perine, he starts filling that role not as well as a Joe Mixon, but he still, gets 3 touchdowns through the air, stuff like that. Obviously sets their passing or their record and stuff like that. But it was just one of those things where they started to go with a little bit more of a faster approach in terms of just in the play, not fast in the sense of like hurry up offense. But that was the stuff that, for us defensively, we really didn't respond to that fast enough. And then from there, Joe Burrow just started to click, right? We know what he was capable of. And that was one of the guys that we talked about even on the podcast, right? Advantages, disadvantages. And one of them were, if Joe Burrow gets hot, he's one of those quarterbacks that could create some issues. And we saw what he was able to do, especially in that second half. Obviously, 350, him and T. Higgins, they just started to click. And T. Higgins looked unguardable at times. Obviously, to the tune of 9 catches, 148 yards, which was just mind-blowing because I felt personally good about our secondary going up against those Bengals wide receivers, not necessarily to blanket them completely, but it just seemed like it was going to be a lot more of an even matchup. And that was not how it actually played out. Started out pretty good though, right? Levi Wallace obviously getting the interception, but after that, it was not a lot, of positive moments going on for us defensively in that second half like that. And then when we get to the offense, that second half offense, I don't know. I do not know. Some of it, I was like, man, are these designed to be like this? Others, I'm just like, all right, we can't execute. And then it was like, okay, the dam officially broke and we could not protect anymore. It just kept getting progressively worse throughout that second half for the offense. I mean, at one point, I don't even think we had a first down in the third quarter. I felt like everything was just 3 and out in that second half. And it was just such a drastic difference than what we saw in the first half. I mean, like I said, in that first half, man, even with some of the missed opportunities, they were still beautiful dial-ups. But that second half, we really didn't see anything to that level until those last two drives. And obviously the one, well, actually, no, it was the last drive because that was the same one where George Pickens dropped the would-be touchdown or should have been touchdown. And yeah, it just wasn't a lot offensively going on, man. Like I said, I definitely felt like in that fourth quarter that the pass rush for the Bengals, man, really started to take over. Dan Moore in that second half, he started to have a little bit of a rough night, and we knew going in that that was one of the matches we had to watch out for. Did not think it was going to get to that point where it was like literally every time you drive back, he's going to be winning. But unfortunately, it was getting closer to that. And I do think that that ultimately hurt Kenny in a sense. And I also think that that made Matt Canada with some of his play calls get a little bit more conservative just because he knew he wasn't going to have as much time. But either way, that second half, man, it was just, it was bad. It was bad offensively, man. But going forward, though, man, the positives are this, though. Defensively, you can see they're still getting better and better each week. The pass rush is getting better and better. TJ Watt is getting better and better. He had another one of those freaky interceptions as well. Like, dude, I don't even know. I don't know how he caught that one. Like, it's freaky, man. But that's why he's TJ, bro. The depot. Shout out to him, man. But yeah, defensively, man, some of the positives, like I said, to go with number one, the pass rush. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, those dudes continuing to cook. Loving what I'm seeing there. Number two, I thought that they still, in terms of their flying around, their tackling, stuff like that, I thought they still played a good game in the sense of their fundamentals and stuff like that. But the finish, that's the third and final thing, man. The finish was not there. It was more like the Eagles game in the sense of being in position with these 50-50 balls, but not actually having them be 50-50 balls. Them turning into 80-20 balls because they're catching them so much, so frequently. That's what it looked like towards the end for that defense, man. But like I said, definitely some positives there, though, for them to go forward. Offensively, some of the positives. Let me take a sip. Offensively, man, some of the positives going forward, though. Number one, man, Kenny Pickett definitely played a way better game. To me, I thought this was his best game that he's played in terms of just my initial reaction. Now, obviously, I go back and watch it on tape, but I thought that this was his best game as a professional. In terms of his reads, touch pass, using his legs. I love the zone read, pull, get the first down. Some of the even some of his misses were aggressive misses. And that's some of the critiques that I have for him, man. If you're going to miss, man, give me an NFL caliber throw. Take a chance on some of these. Now, he did have some ones where you was scratching your head. I saw him. I know. But some of those ones, man, where he's putting it in a tight window, that's the next step for him. And he also did not have a turnover. So that was also a really good thing. Let me make sure I double. Yeah, I was saying that. No turnovers, man. That was beautiful. Love the no turnover element, man. Because for him now, this is 2 weeks in a row. It's something that he has to keep going, has to keep doing going forward. But definitely love what we saw from, or really liked a lot what we saw from Kenny in terms of his growth and productivity. Secondly, you hang your head on offensively. You got you a real one out there, receiver, man, George Pickens. Now, I know he got ejected at the end of the game. Young dudes doing stupid stuff. That's going to cost him, play for free. It is what it is. And that's the difference at the NFL level. Collegially, you'll be sitting at home next week. But, professionally, they're just going to tap that pocket, so you'll learn. But as a whole, man, I definitely like what I saw from him. But he had some goofy moments, man. Oh, my gosh. Like I said, the dropping in, the tripping over himself in the end zone, man, very uncharacteristic from him. But definitely put on in the sense of showing people what he's truly capable of. His route running, and I still felt like he had some more opportunities that Kenny just didn't see him on. But yeah, he's the real deal, man. He's continuing to show that, man. So you could definitely hang your hat on the positivity there. Another thing, Pat Freiermuth. I thought his consistency continues to show. He could still be better, and he still has some moments where I'm just like, Pat, man, you're better than this. But as a whole, 8 catches, 79 yards, had the longer 27 yards, man. Really good day for him, but he could still be better. And I think all of us would agree with that. Even he would agree with that. So, like I said, definitely some goods out there, definitely some positives out there. Another one is Steven Sims, man. Steven Sims, man, outside of the mishandling the punt return, I thought that he had some nice field flipping returns. just helping bring life to this offense, even though we weren't able to capitalize on it fully. Still able to set the team up to get, I think was it 3 points off of one of his returns. So, like I said, for Steven Sims, I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing from him. But like I said, some good, some bad in this game. We're just still in that young growth and development phase, very similar to where this Bengals team was, honestly, 2 seasons ago, when it was Joe Burrow's first year there, and they're trying to figure that whole thing out. And then they took that next step, obviously, and got hot in the Super Bowl, like got hot in the playoff run. But that second season, in terms of last season as well, you saw them. They were kind of up and down, and then they kind of hit their stride towards the end of it. And at times, I look at our team and I'm like, I see some of the similarities. I see some of the things with Kenny where he's developing. I'm seeing a George Pickens and how he's developing. But we're still looking at our offensive line and we're saying, what? Man, these guys got to be more consistent. Well, what can they say about that Bengals offensive line, right? They need to be more consistent. What they do this offseason, they went out there and got some new players in there, and they're still not complete as we saw today, or we saw this afternoon. We still were able to get after them in that element, but it's just those type of little things where we're right there, but we're just a little bit behind in our development in terms of where the stages of this thing, man. And that's, one of the things that we have to deal with right now. But we can see growth. We can see productivity and improvement as a whole. So, like I said, I definitely like that. But those are my initial reactions. Now we're going to go over here and check out this chat. I know y'all turned all the way up, as you should be as well. So make sure you're hitting the like button and the subscribe button and the notification bell while you're at it. Appreciate you. All right, AJ Martinez says, Kenny Pickett needs to learn to lead the offense. Okay. That's a fair assessment. To me, man, personally, I thought that he did have some good leadership moments out there. But you also got to understand, too, for rookies, man, that's a lot going on, man. That's a lot going on for him, just figuring out who he is as an NFL player, an NFL leader. It's not always as easy as, some of the veterans that made it look in the past. When you're a rookie, man, it's just a lot that you're thinking about. But that's something that he's going to continue to get better with, though. Sean McCartney, season is officially over. Ooh, 3-7. I mean, yeah, you got a point. I mean, it's not the most ideal in terms of conditions and stuff like that. But, still got a lot of football games remaining. So, got to go out there and play them things, man, regardless of what we may feel is achievable or not achievable. Calculated snipe. Positive is we cracked 30 points. Talk to me, baby. We did get them 30 pieces, man. Finally, right? Now, I know it was a little bit of garbage time on that last drive. I ain't tripping now. But, yeah, man, we did finally cop us a 30 piece, man. And honestly, I felt like, man, we had some moments where it was like, yo, if we could have just had us a drive or two in that third quarter, I think it changes the whole dynamic of that fourth quarter and how the Bengals and their momentum was feeling. I think it changes a lot. Unfortunately, we couldn't. Fortunately, it didn't happen. But the 30 points is definitely nice. But man, I would have liked to have seen us be able to put the drive together in that third quarter. Whoo, I think that changes a lot, man. All right. Sean McCartney says, what should I use now? Dropson or Slipson? Oh, man. Yeah, Deontay. He had the wrong cleats on, man. Y'all got chill. It was the color rush, so he tried to get fancy with the cleats. I don't know. It's like that sometimes, though. It's like that. AJ Martinez, my brother Moats, now it's always love. He says, it looks sad on the scoreboard. The D played lights out, but the offense has no fire or attitude or urgency or leadership. And with this offense, they are also very young, as we talked about at times throughout the podcast, right? And we're saying, who are the veteran players on offense? We said the oldest offensive player that's, out there starting, I think is what, Chooks? And it's like, man, Chooks is still young. It's like, all right, you got Deontay. Deontay's still young. So I'm trying to think, James Daniels, but even he's still young. Like, you don't have a lot of veteran leadership on offense. It's not a lot of 6, 7, 8-year veterans over there. It's a lot of 5 and 6-year veterans over there. That's a different phase. Like, even when you're talking about Chooks, he's just now trying to prove that he can be the leader of the offensive line with the contract. James Daniels, coming from Chicago, He's trying to prove that now he can be a leader of a unit now that he has a contract. They're young. Deontay Johnson, he finally got a contract. Now he gets to prove if he could be the big dog in the room. But we're seeing like it's no guarantee because all of these guys are young. They're all trying to figure it out. So when we're talking about this leadership or this urgency or even the lack of fire or consistency at times, I do feel a lot of that is related to the youth. Because when you're young trying to figure out who you are in this league, it's hard to confidently tell a guy what to do, or it's hard to hold another player accountable when you don't even know if you're to that level just yet. And I do feel like this offense is going through that more so than the defense, because defense, like you see, you got a Cam Hayward over there, you got a Miles Jack over there, right? Cam Sutton, he's been in this league for a little while now. You know, you got players that have done this, and then with their mid-year players, right? Your TJ Watt, your Minka Fitzpatrick's, they are so dominant at their positions that it makes it easier for them to lead, even though they're not the most vocal of leaders, right? So I think that's the biggest difference, though, when we're looking at this offense and why you feel like that, or even a lot of us when we're watching it could feel like that. I do feel like that's the context that at times has been missing because we haven't really had to address that because we've always had 7. So with Ben, it didn't matter if you had, young receivers, running backs, offensive line. When you had a guy that was 12 years in this thing, 13, 14, 15, it didn't matter because he was always going to have that veteran presence. So I do think that's part of what we're also witnessing on offense as well. Skydiving heck. What up, baby? Man, one of these days I'm going to go skydiving too. I don't know if I'm really going to do it because I'm really scared. But it seems cool because every time I see your name, it makes me want to do it. All right. But anywho, games like these are so infuriating dealing with Canada. One moment we're moving like a true NFL offense. Then next is like Pee Wee. TJ, though, the double GOAT. Man, you couldn't have said that any better, man. That's 100% the truth. The first half, I'm sitting next to Dom, the new cat we just hired, Dominic, shout out to him. And we're watching it, and I'm like, bro, this offense is clicking. This offense is open. Like, it's dynamic. It is explosive. They got guys running free. Like, they taking shots. This is nice. Then you had, obviously, the Najee run and jump over to get the touchdown. I'm like, man, this is what you want to see. And then the second half, and it's just like, bro, what is this? Like, it looked anemic at times. I'm like, man, are y'all trying not to get a first? Are you trying not to be aggressive? Are you trying not to be productive here? Like, what was going on? So, yeah, I could definitely feel your energy as it pertains to this offense. But TJ Watt, man, yeah, he continues to just pick up right where he left off at, man. Comes back. I want to see what his final stat line was, actually, dude, because he was balling. 6 tackles, half sack, 2 PBUs or pass knockdowns, and he had the 1 QB hit, and he had the pick as well. Yeah, he was on one. He was definitely on one, man. Shout out to the GOAT, TJ Watt, a.k.a. the Reigning Depot. You know what time he is always on, man. Shout out to him, man, in a major way. All right, Sean McCartney. First time scoring 30 points, had 2 interceptions, and still found a way to lose the game. Needed to tighten up and couldn't. Maybe next year. Yeah, so the thing was this, man. We did answer the bell in terms of scoring 30 points. We did answer the bell in terms of getting 2 turnovers, winning the turnover battle. That was huge. But we also had to remember this. The Bengals, they are a very talented team. And the differences right now are what? They have a Joe Burrow who is a lot more proven than we have at Kenny Pickett. And that was reflected in the stat line. They also won in the sense of their receiver matchup, right? T. Higgins versus our George Pickens or Deontay Johnson, right? Whichever receiver we're going to have, T. Higgins had the better night, right? He kind of went off. And when I think about, a game where it was tight for 2.5, 3 quarters, I look at those type of things right there, and I say that to me was one of the differences. I also look at our pass rush versus their pass rush, right? When you talk about Dan Moore and Chooks versus Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard in the second half, we started to really get beat bad, right? They were, coming after Kenny. It was crazy. And then on the flip side, Jonah Williams and Lyle Collins started to get a lot better as the game went on, kind of keeping TJ and Alex at bay. And obviously, Joe Burrow was getting the ball out faster. But to me, those were the little differences. So very frustrating, yes, but those are the little things where it's like, we can get that. That is not far away. But in the sense of it being this season, well, that's what we got to keep building towards. But that's why when we say, hey, we're 3-7 and the season is over, honestly, it's not, because yes, in the sense of playoff aspirations or Super Bowl aspirations, that might not be as attainable. But when you're talking about the development to get to that, because it's not like this is the last season ever. It's not. Football continues on. That is where you get, but you find that out. You build to that now. You got to keep going, and you can't take your foot off the pedal and start talking all this nonsense, because that's never going to be achieved. So you have to focus in on that part. But you can see where we're at. It's not this long process where we've dropped off of a cliff. No. It's just those little details, that little bit of a difference between where they're at versus where we are with our players and where we're at in terms of the development. All right, Jacob Malicio says, what the happened in the second half? Please fire Canada. H290. So the thing is this, man. First half, the second half, I thought the big difference for the play calls were, number one, the protection. I thought that we did not protect as good in that second half, and it forced us to play a little bit faster. It forced us to not be able to scheme up and call some of those shots downfield. I also thought that our running game was not as good in the second half. I thought that the Bengals defensive line really controlled the line of scrimmage. Like I said, as the game went on, I thought that their players played just a lot better up front than we did in that second half. And I thought that was one of the reasons why for us offensively, it became this, I don't know, just weird, sluggish, like we couldn't really get any type of positive plays. We kept going in the wrong direction. Like it was a lot of that going on, but I also look at that and I say, man, part of that is what? Youth. Part of that is these dudes not understanding how to buckle in and have all those little details when it's starting to get tight. And that's the part that they have to grow and learn from. But unfortunately, we're in the growing part. And you can't skip this phase, as we talked about. We can continue to see the progressions, though. But this is some of the stuff that we're dealing with. But, man, I do feel like it was some positive moments, though, baby. Man, I definitely do. I'm trying to think, man. Oh, man. There's definitely some good stuff, though. All right. We got Noah Colback. And honestly, man, around the league with some crazy games too. Shoot, let's see. You had Detroit getting after the day going, who they beat? The Giants? Yeah, that was nuts. Yeah. And then Dallas putting the work in on the Vikings. Like, what in the heck? All right. But let me get to my man Noah Colback. He says, easily one of the most frustrating games I've seen. Yes, and I know why I was frustrated, man, because it was one where we felt like we should win. We felt like we had everything going. We finally were getting passing touchdowns. We were getting rushing touchdowns. We were looking good. We was getting stops on defense. We was getting turnovers. Everything was falling the way it was supposed to fall. And then it was like, it just stopped. I know. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Very, very frustrating. Jonathan McDormand. Go Dukes. That is all. For those of you that may have forgotten, yes, the James Madison University football Dukes did win their game yesterday, 42-40 versus the Georgia State Panthers, as they went on to become 7-3 in their first season in the FBS, playing a full FBS schedule and not even having a full 85 scholarships. It was beautiful, and yours truly was on the color commentating. So yes, it was a beautiful, beautiful night. In fact, it was a beautiful weekend. The only thing that messed it up was this loss right here. I was 2-0. I had JMU, they won, Buffalo won, and it was time for Pittsburgh, and I was like, dang. But go Dukes. Go Dukes, baby. Yes, indeed. All right. Let's see. Where are we next? Oh, Let's Go UW. Shout out to Let's Go UW. All right. You don't want to hear anyone ever compare Kenny to Joe ever again. That is what a franchise QB looks like. Yo, you gotta chill. You gotta chill. This is the thing. And for me, firstly, I agree with you. I've never been a fan of that comparison. I personally think the only reason they say it was because they both stayed for good, but 6 years, 5 years, yeah, it was a long time. But I'm with you. But the thing was this though. Joe is a franchise quarterback. He's proven that. We've seen him. He's taken his team to a Super Bowl, man. He is as good as advertised. And he's one of those guys that can do it when he has protection and when he doesn't have protection, man. He's that guy. You know, he's a guy that can turn the ball over 2 times and still throw you to a victory. Think about that. Most teams, when you start turning the ball over like that, they get skittish. Like, hey, man, let's start handing this ball off more. Not with him, nah. But think about that. We've had that same caliber quarterback. We've had a Ben Roethlisberger. So we know exactly what that's like over there, man, where you just feel it doesn't matter what is going on, we're going to be fine. It doesn't matter how good this defense is. We got this guy. We're going to be straight. Like, we get that. We know that feeling all too well. But unfortunately for us right now, we've had to hit the reset button on that situation. So we shall see how quickly we can get that back. But for the time being, yeah, we're going to need all hands on deck. And that is why we need everybody to be playing up to their full potential. Don't leave anything out there. All right. Let's see. We got the homie BG, too dope. Shout out to him. Says Bryce Young and Tyler Steen for 2023 Steelers picks. Man, nah. Don't rush on that. Nah, man. Because honestly, I do feel like Kenny continued to take major steps in the right direction once again. And I don't feel like it's just this thing where you got to move on from that just yet. I'm not with you on that one. But Tyler Steen, nah. We'll talk draft later. We'll talk draft later. All right. Jacob Malicio says, Bengals playing take over your trap in our house. Yeah, that's a rough one. But, you know, they're trying to play catch up for all the times that we had our way with them. So we will allow that for this time and this time only. But it's going to come back around. Just know. It's going to be full circle. So we're not tripping. Chase says, can we give Flores a chance with the D, please? Second half offense was doo-doo. We didn't look at DJ, but Canada did great first, though. Yeah. First half, definitely. Yeah, tell 2 halves, man. He says, hashtag slowly but surely, hashtag Pickens is wide receiver 1. No, I'm with you, man. Pickens is definitely wide receiver 1, man. His consistency, well, I can't even say his consistency because he was doing some inconsistent stuff today. He was still balling, but he was still inconsistent. Like, George, what was going on, man? Like, I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was, man. But for the defense, man, when Joe Burrow gets like that, along with the matchup too, because that was the other big thing, they weren't keeping T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd out there on the outside and just having them go up against Cam Sutton and Levi Wallace the whole time. No, they were making sure through their schematics that they were going to get that matchup on Arthur Maulet, and it was going to be on Arthur to win at the point of attack, at the catch point, right? And it was just a lot of him not having success there. Or who else did they scheme it up on? When it wasn't Arthur Maulet, they were going at Terrell Edmonds in that same area. So that was their approach, because they knew that we don't travel and have our corners match up in terms of, hey, Levi, you go match body for body, go play the slot and put this guy on the outside. We don't do that because at times it can overcomplicate the defense. But the Bengals, they understand that, and that is one of the flaws of our defense, is you can bank on that slot matchup always being on the inside, or sometimes we have our linebackers right there, and we've complained about that as well. So that was good on them, but that's some of the familiarity that you just face when you're in the division. But today was one of those ones where we didn't win that matchup enough, and I think that also helped them in terms of their offense just being, on schedule or being a little bit more explosive. Farron Bradford in the house. What up, Farron? He says, in the timing of the flea flicker, shovel pass, and last jet sweep. Really, bro? offensive tackle, cornerback. I don't care which one. We need one. We needed this game. No, we definitely needed this game. And man, you killed me when you just said that right there. The flea flicker, the shovel pass, that last jet sweep. Man, that flea flicker almost took me out, man. I was like, yo, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Because we had just, I felt like we was like, no, it's going to be all right. And it just seemed real gimmicky. I'm like, yo, we don't need that right now. We're doing fine. Don't give me the gimmick. I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. Yeah, the show pass got blew up. Holy cow. Yeah, they set my man up. But I think part of that's because we run it a lot. And it's to the point now where when you see that tight end all set weak and you got the running back on the front side, you're like, okay, guys, look for this motion. Look for the inside play. The running back's going to go fast motion. He's going to pitch it right here. He's going to try to keep it like, yeah, it's getting a little predictable. But, yeah, it is. So, I'm with you on that. And, yeah, offensive tackle and cornerback, I can understand that, man. Dan Moore has been struggling a little bit. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a good day for him. But Trey Hendrickson is also a really good pass rusher, and that was why I highlighted him. We talked about him, whether it was 5-star matchups, whether it was when we were doing the game preview on the podcast. He is a really good pass rusher, man. And I thought that he usually would go up against Chooks, but he flipped sides, and he was just really able to cause Dan Moore to have some fits over there, man. So I could definitely understand that. And then cornerback, I could definitely understand because we do feel like we have good corners, but do we have a cornerback one per se? That's the real question. Or a guy that when a T. Higgins is doing what he's doing, you can say, you know what, man, this is your guy going forward. We don't necessarily have that type of guy just yet. So I can understand that, man. I definitely can. All right. AJ Martinez. Leadership reflects effort. Who is the leader on the offense? I would assume I'm wrong, but Pickett needs to put his soul on the line to win a game for the team to follow. I don't know. I have a different perspective as it pertains to that whole leadership dynamic. I do think that outside we make a bigger deal about it, but on the field, I think it really just boils down to you doing your job. Like, I personally never was the biggest fan of the guy that has to rah-rah and talk after every play to, hey guys, come on, man, bring it on in. All right, listen, we're going to do this. You got to be motivated. Nah, man, I don't need that, baby. I'm going to do my job. You just give me the call. And I think because they're more younger on offense, all 11 of those guys aren't as consistent with doing their jobs. So when you see that, now you say, man, we need somebody that can get these guys going, that can galvanize, that can whip them into shape. All right, it should be the quarterback. The quarterback's a rookie himself. So it's youth leading youth. And that, to me, is just something that they're organically going to have to get through. And I think one of those guys will organically emerge as the leader. Kenny tries to be that at times. George tries to be that at times with his play. But I think all of those dudes are trying to figure out their roles and what they're going to be as this thing goes forward. But I just think if they all get to the basics of just being consistent players in their own element, I think everything else takes care of itself and starts to fall into place in terms of natural leadership and stuff like that, versus them just trying to appoint somebody or force that leadership narrative. Because, yeah, I don't know. I just don't think you need it like that. I think if you do your job and everybody around us doing our job, like, we don't have to do all that talking. Like, everything else take care of itself. So once they start doing that offensively, I do think that productivity will be a lot more consistent going forward. All right, Russell Schwartz. Tomlin needs to grow a set and fire Canada. Not first half Canada, second half Canada. Yeah, first half Canada I like. I like first half Canada. Second half Canada, I was just like, bro, what are we doing, man? That was not cool. Yeah, I'm hoping when I go back and watch the film on it, man, that it looks a little bit different. Maybe it was like just misses or the pass rush or something. But yeah, second half Canada, that was not what I wanted to see right there. Alrighty. Let's go. UW. It says, even as much I don't like Kenny Pickett, he needs to learn to just throw the ball away. He's holding the ball way too long. I don't care how tough a QB is, those hits add up. Took years off Ben's career and killed Andrew Luck. Yeah, sometimes he does take some shots, man, but that is a part of him just learning this level. You don't, like, we're used to 18-year Ben Roethlisberger, who had already went through his growing pains. He went through the phase of getting beat up, right? Taking too many hits. Then we went to Todd Haley, right? And how that kind of shifted that dynamic for him. Take less hits, get the ball out faster and stuff like that, right? Kenny has to go through this growing pain as well. He has to learn when he can throw the ball away, when he needs to take an extra hit, and things like that, man. But you can't skip that phase. And just because we're used to this guy already having that understood, this is a totally different player who is 7 games into his career. Has he played? Let me count how many games. Actually, it might be a little bit past 7 now for him. Let's see. How many games officially has my man dog? Yeah. Yep. 6 of them things. And not even a whole 6, because remember, he got half of one. Yeah, so for him, man, he's still learning. A couple other things that even when we're talking about Kenny, and just some of the things he's learning. Remember Philadelphia Eagles game? What did we complain about? On the deep pass, he kept going back shoulder. And we were like, man, does he not have enough arm shift? Like, why does he always go back shoulder, back shoulder, back shoulder? But then today, we see him learn and do what? Lead George Pickens, right? Not once, but twice. The one he dropped, but the other one he caught was a big time catch, right? And we started to see him stretching the field more, just leading guys more. So I did like that part from Kenny. But that's, once again, just him going through the growing pains. It's going to look good at times, but then you have some misses as well, right? And that's just the up and down that you get with a young player. But it's still headed in the right direction. Excuse me. And that's something that we definitely like. So let's go, UW. Just give him some more time, baby. And he will start to learn those hits do add up. And you don't want to take a lot of them. And then we got the man Maximus in the building. He says, the second half play calling seemed to be conservative, not throwing until we were down. Does Canada not trust Kenny to throw? Also, we need to draft a tackle. I think it was 2 things, man. I think that Matt Canada, it's not that he doesn't trust Kenny. I just think at times he feels like, man, let me protect him. And I get it when you're working with young players, man, or just, young players, because they're inconsistent. They're really good at times, or they can be really bad at times. Yeah. And when the game is getting tight, as that game was, and especially as the, second half was starting to wind down, or excuse me, the second half was starting to, in that third quarter was starting to go, I can understand why you're trying to do certain things or why you're not trying to do certain things in terms of putting him in harm's way. I thought the lack of running game in the second half did kind of hurt it a little bit. And I also thought that the offensive line not being able to protect as well as they did in the first half, I thought that changed the dynamic also, because now on some of these schemed up calls that we were getting in the first half, Kenny didn't have necessarily the time to do some of those things. It was a lot faster of a play, a lot faster of a read, and him having to get it out quicker, and it just wasn't the situation for him to be successful in. So I think it was kind of both of those things with in terms of with Matt Canada, in terms of him not necessarily wanting to have Kenny just exposed to a ton of the negative, and then also the offensive line not allowing him to have as much time to call some of the other stuff that could have helped him out. Now, not saying that Matt Canada's off the hook, because some of the alternatives to that are, as we talked about before, you could, if you feel like, man, it's to a point where our offensive line isn't protecting, you can go with your big body personnel groupings, or you have your receivers in the tight bunch areas to disrupt those pass rushes. We see them do it with TJ Watt in the second half. That was what they started to do a lot more. You saw that running back P. Ryan, he's going to release and he's going to chip TJ on the way out, or they were going to line Hayden Hurst right in off in that C gap, that C tight end area. He was going to be off though, just enough to influence TJ where he wasn't going to have a free rush. And those are some of the things that we could have done more of to protect our tackles, but we did not do enough of that, at least from what I saw. Now, obviously, I'll look on the tape and see what was different, and hopefully I was wrong. But I don't feel like I was right there. I feel like we definitely did not do enough of that to help our tackles out. We kind of let them out, not to dry, but yeah. It was like, when you're one-on-one. And obviously, that was not how it played out. Alrighty. Sean McCartney. I seen Sean McCartney in the house. Says people want to get an overrated Alabama or Ohio State quarterback after scoring 30 points for the first time. Apparently, everyone needs a perfect rookie season. Yeah, Sean McCartney, I'm with you, baby. Nobody's perfect when they first come in this league, man. Shoot, we talk about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has not been perfect even in his third season in the league. So it's understandable for our rookie quarterback to have some really good moments and some not so good moments, especially against a very good at times Cincinnati Bengals defense. And when you're talking about their pass rush, when their pass rush is having the success that they had today, that's when that Bengals defense is clicking. That's when their safeties and corners are able to fly around and make plays. Logan Wilson doing what he does. That's a different version. But to me, I'm like, man, you saw some really good plays from Kenny. It was plays that were left out there, yes, but some of that was not always on him either. To me, man, I think that Kenny is developing, in a good way, but I don't see the point right now. I don't think that it's just like he's to this point where he's so bad or he's so limited or he's going to limit us that we need to move on from him a year later. I don't see that right now, man. Nah. And like you said, man, we did just score 30 on him too. So I'm with you, baby. I'm with you. But I do feel like if we could get him some more protection, I think that would help him out a lot. And I also think that if that protection is better, maybe that means that the run blocking would be better as well and just more consistent. I think that's the big issue right now with our offensive line, the consistency. First half, they played well. First half, man, they were protecting. They were moving people up at the line of scrimmage. It looked good. Second half, it was just not there. They really started to show some of the one-on-one issues that we could have at times, man. And not across the, it was the tackles, Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But I don't think we got to move on right now, man, from him, man. I feel good. I just think that you got to get him more protection. Because he's showing, in terms of Kenny, he's showing ability to read the field. He's showing ability to take chances. He's showing arm strength and touch and accuracy, man, from what I saw today, man. So, like I said, man, he's going in the right direction. Okay, Lou Bo. Every time someone chants, Kenny, I think of the butler from Scary Movie 2 with the little hand. Get my strong hand. Nah, stop that, man. All right, Jacob Malicio, he says, what is the reason we don't use the bumblebees? Oh, we don't use the bumblebees anymore. In terms of the jerseys, I am not sure, actually. Yeah, I think they just said they just wanted to switch them. After every so many years, we'll switch throwbacks. So, yeah, I forgot what was the I think it was the gold helmet throwbacks. Maybe it was gold helmet block numbers. They wore them for however many years and they stopped that. Then it was the bumblebees for a certain amount of time. They stopped that. Now they're going, this thing is just the block number throwbacks now. I guess you're going to have that for like the next 10 years, I guess. So, yeah. But that's why the bumblebees are no more. Lou Bo. Pickett is inaccurate. That deep pass to Pickens was off. The low pass to Muth and the throw into double coverage to Gunner at the end. I don't trust Pickett. Man, I hear you, but I don't hear you. Because how many wide receivers have we seen adjust in the end zone and make that same catch? George Pickens will probably look at that same play and say to himself, bro, I got to make that play. I cannot trip over my own feet. I can't go with you on that one, man. I can't. The low pass to Muth, okay, debatable, but there was also pass to Muth that Muth should have came down with. There was also another late pass to George Pickens on the sideline that would have been another bomb, probably touchdown if he catches it. So I get the criticism for Kenny Pickett because, yeah, it's not the most consistent, and that's fine. But let's not act like if those three plays that I just named were completions, we're sitting here and you're singing a different tune. And that's the reality of it. He's been playing all right. He's progressing. He's stepping up. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But at the same time, he is a rookie. So that's a part of it, man. But to me, man, George Pickens is way better than what you... If you're taking George Pickens tripping in the end zone and saying that, that's exclusively on a Kenny Pickett, man, I think that you're looking at George Pickens and minimizing how talented he truly is. He's one of those guys that he makes any of those type of plays, man. So let's make sure that he understands that. And he does. And I think he will next time go out there and make a lot more of those caliber plays that he is truly capable of. Alrighty. Damon Brown. Shout out to Damon. And I don't think I saw you today either, man. But it was like crazy packed down there. Yeah. Talking about the pregame, I do the interviews. We had Donnie Shell, the Hall of Famer, down there at the Great Hall. Yeah. Shout out to everybody that I did run into down there, man. A ton of supporters down there, man. We really appreciate y'all support, man, for the show. Anytime y'all pull up anything, man, definitely means a lot, man. So I appreciate the heck out of y'all. But Damon Brown says, some of y'all are out of y'all dang mind if you think Kenny Pickett played worth a dang. Throwing the ball like he had a bubble gum arm. Like he had bubble gum in his arm, or in his shoulder, shaking my head. Hey, man, I thought that he played decent, man. I thought that honestly, I thought that he played really good at times, personally. I get it, man. If, y'all want to, we'll put it like this. I don't think that it's a negative to want this. I just think that we are accustomed to Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger is an outlier. Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Fame quarterback. When you talk about Hall of Fame quarterbacks, they're outliers for a reason, because there's not a lot of them. It's not a lot of Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, Rodgers walking around, right? We name the same 5 quarterbacks for how many years? You're going to name the same 5 quarterbacks for the next how many years? So for Kenny, if Kenny is not in that tier, which I personally don't think he is right now, this is what you need to see. You need to see a guy that can make certain throws. You need to see a guy that can make things with his legs and can make certain plays. And to me, he's doing those things fine, but he's just not the type of quarterback that you throw out there and say, hey, man, win us this game by yourself. Nah, and that's fine. There are Kirk Cousins in this league that are highly successful. Ryan Tannehills that are highly successful. Matthew Staffords that are highly successful. But they have to have pieces around them. To me, when I look at Kenny Pickett, I'm just like, hey, man, when those pieces around him are executing the way they're supposed to and he's playing how he's supposed to play, I think that he could be really good with this team. But if we're going to look at him and hold him to the standard of a Ben Roethlisberger or the elite tier, I think that we're going to be sadly disappointed and mistaken every time we watch this dude come out there, because that expectation, to me, is unrealistic for him this season. So that's just at least how I look at it. All right, Chef Buck. Or Chief Buck. No, that's Chef Buck. Shout out to Chef Buck. I ain't tripping. All right. I've given Canada a chance, but his inability to make in-game adjustments to defensive coordinators makes it really hard to believe in him. You know what? Now, that is a fair critique. Yes, indeed. Because, tale of 2 coordinators. We saw how we could not have an answer for when they moved Trey Hendrickson to the left side. He started having a lot more success against Dan Moore, and some of the things that they were doing defensively, we never adjusted to that. And then in contrast, you look at the Bengals. We kept walking dudes up. We kept trying to isolate to get man-to-man or one-on-one matches with our tackles, right? In terms of getting TJ and Alex Highsmith one-on-one. So what did the Bengals start to do? Empty formation, fast release in the back. Why do you do that? Because if this linebacker is showing in the B gap or in the A gap, and I have to make sure everybody's one-on-one, well, he's not going to be able to catch this guy going right here, and I'm going to fast release from that ball. Or if I align it empty, hey, you can't line up here because you got to show up out there. Now I know who's rushing and who's not. And you can see the difference. And Joe Burrow was able to get a lot more time. He was able to get the ball out faster. His reads were better. And that was a big difference in terms of their adjustments. So yes, Matt Canada, that is a very fair critique of him, because he has to make those in-game adjustments. That's why the first half looked good. First half, man, he was up one. He had him. He was wheeling and dealing. Second half, Bengals make the adjustment. We never got that adjustment back from him, and that's something that he has to get better at, because that's what the good coordinators do at this level. You might have them for a quarter, but after that, they're going to do something to adjust. And then after that, you got to come back with an answer. And for him, he's still trying to figure that thing out consistently, or if he's even capable of that, because we don't even know if he's capable of that on a consistent level just yet because we haven't seen it. But that's the step. That's what we're looking for from Matt Canada. When they make an adjustment, you got to make another one. So we will see how long it takes him to get more consistent with that. But the clock is for certainly ticking. Oh, and hit that like button too. While y'all love here, man. I appreciate all y'all that's tuning in, man. Y'all got some good questions too, man. Some good comments and feedback, man. I respect y'all for that, man. From the heart. All right. Mike Hood says, looked at Canada's resume finally. Wow. How did he become Steel's offensive coordinator? Flea flicker that works against Southwestern Missouri State Community College or Community Girls School. Lord, Lord, Lord. Get off of Mike Hood. Stall him out. Yeah, not the most impressive resume. I'm with you. But that's part of the criticism that Mike Tomlin has when you're talking about why he was hired. Yeah, you look at that and you say, man, where were the valid credentials? But at the same time, I will say this. Context does matter. Benjamin Roethlisberger was still the quarterback, and everybody knew that was coming in, and he was going to be his final season. People knew that he was limited, and he was going to be very rigid in his approach to change of any type of play calling styles. So if you're a proven coordinator, why would you want to take on that situation for 1 year and then you know you're getting a hard reset rebuild? That's going to make you look bad. You don't know what that situation is. Also, when you're talking about the up and coming guys, you're just like, man, I don't want to bring my innovative offense to Pittsburgh where I know I'm going to have to dumb it down to play it with a Ben Roethlisberger. And then after that, I don't even know what we're going to do, going forward. So when you ask how a Matt Canada and his resume could get hired, yeah, he was the one where it's like, hey, I'll take this opportunity. I'll hop in here with this situation and see where we can go from there. Now, that might be why, that to me is a bigger reason why, he was able to get that opportunity. But it's showing maybe that he wasn't as qualified. And that's also part of the reason why he was able to get that opportunity, because of those circumstances. So it's more than just, they looked at his resume and just brought him in. I don't think it was just that simple as pertains to the hiring of him. But like you said, that's a different critique than where we're at today. We're past all that. Now it's like, man, you just got to be better, And unfortunately, he hasn't been good enough just yet. All right, the Funky Chad. He says, 8 needs a lot of work. Really hope he's the guy. Consistency is where he has to get better at. I do think that he is growing. I think that some of the mistakes that he's made in the past, I think that he's cut down on. No turnovers once again as well. And he continued to stretch the field. Was finally putting the ball up in the air, man, throwing a touchdown pass, man. So, some of those things I was definitely impressed with. But, yeah, he has to get better. And that's a part of his growth. But he is taking steps in the right direction. All right. Ray Martinez. I really don't know who to blame at this point. You think we figure it out to make a run? Or you think we figured out to make a run? I hope so, but it's just tough because with this offense right now, man, like, they're so hot and cold. Like, one moment they look like they're about to be a legitimate NFL offense. That first half, man, let's be real. We all felt good about our offense in the first half. I don't know if we truly believed it, but we felt good about it. We were more so looking at our defense like, bro, why are we tripping? But, yeah, the second half was just night and day. So when you asked me, do I think we can make a run? I'm like, man, if our offense could play consistent like they did in the first half, absolutely. But if it's going to look like that second half, nah, I don't think we stand a chance. So we just got to see which version shows up. Hopefully we get more of that first half going forward, but we still did get that first half. And that, once again, is progression. But we just need it for 4 quarters. We need that type of performance going forward, man. Give it to me. Farron Bradford also says, I don't know why we got away from running the ball too. It's the feel for the game, and when he calls runs that kill us. Yeah, I'm with you. The feel for the game is definitely a legitimate criticism of Matt Canada. But part of that running stuff, man, when you're running or when you're calling a run play, but it's stagnant, there's nothing positive coming from it, it's hard to just keep calling them. And at the same time, the Bengals offense was heating up. Remember that too. So as they're heating up and we're getting stagnant, three and out, it's one of those things where you're just feeling like, man, maybe I need to try something different. But I got to go back and watch the tape to fully see what Matt Canada was maybe attempting to change to or not, because obviously it just did not work. But I need to see more of what was actually going on. And yeah, I won't know that until I get a chance to watch the tape, baby. But yes. All right, Jacob Alicio, he says, Chuck Knowles said, if I have to motivate you, I'll fire you. Thank you. I'm with you. That's how I feel like when we talk leaders, like, I don't need all that. I don't need you rah-rah, and I don't need you talking motivate. Oh, hey, man, come on, win one for the Gipper. No, man. I'm going to do my job. And if I'm not going to do my job, get rid of me and bring somebody else in here that will do my job. Because that's as simple as it is. Like, this isn't college football. This isn't high school football. These are professionals. This is their job. They're 9 to 5, man. Yeah. The accountability is there in your contract, man. You get that check, you like how that money spent, right? Well, they're paying you to be consistent. They're paying you to line up, study, do all the things you're supposed to do. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. We don't need all this rah-rah motivation talk. No, get out there and do your job. And they are capable of that, but they are young. And with youth, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for it to click, for it to understand that, hey, man, all right, I got this thing locked in now. All right, I know how to do this each and every week now. I know how to not get too high, not get too low each and every week. It's a process. It really is, man. And some guys get it sooner. Some guys, it takes a little bit longer. No different when you hear guys talk about a rookie wall. Man, I hit that rookie wall my rookie year. And some of that is more so the burnout because of how long the season is. When it gets to weeks 10, 11, 12, you start adding them up because it's like playing a full college season and now you just at the halfway point sometimes NFL-wise. He's like, I still got 8 more. I still got 6 more. So that is real, but every player adjusts differently. So when we're looking at these rookie players and how they're progressing and some of the inconsistencies that we're getting from them, that's all a part of the context, man. So not an excuse, but just part of it. But I'm with you either way, Jacob. You don't need to motivate these dudes, man. They just got to play and be accountable. Look yourself in the mirror, baby. That's what you got to do. All right, the Funky Chad, Dan Moore. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. I'm sorry. But yeah, man. Dan had a little rough one. Had a rough one. That was a rough one. I'm hoping that we don't see too many more like that. Shout out to Dan Moore, though. All right. Farron Bradford says, also, 8 will never be like Joe. The arm talent on 2 different levels. There's a reason why Joe Burrow went first overall. We have a Kirk Cousins ceiling type guy at quarterback. Hopefully he proves me wrong. Yeah, those are 2 very different players. But who were the people putting the Joe Burrow label on Kenny Pickett? Steelers fans. Like, Kenny's a good player. But you're right. To me, I look at Kenny and I'm like, man, you could be a Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins is a really good player. A Pro Bowl caliber quarterback who's led his team to multiple division champion. He's won the division in DC a couple of times. And obviously he's about to win it again in Minnesota this year. But I look at that and I say, man, you get him around with the right players, the running game and stuff like that, you can win with that. And you can go far with that potentially. But I just think they're 2 different types of players, man. Yeah, I'm with you. But, hey, who knows, man? Maybe Kenny Pickett could be the next Joe Burrow, the next Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, whatever. Like, if he is, great. But it's a lot less likely just because of those guys being such outliers that you would strike lightning that quick twice like that. But we shall see, man. We shall see. All right, Sean McCartney. Lou Bo, Big Noriega, Law, calling out the Kenny haters. Come back to me in the future if you are actually right. I'll probably forget you next season. Ooh, okay. Put a respect on it then. I like how Sean McCartney stamped that thing too. Muhammad Absmed. Shout out to Muhammad as well. He says, this is the best possible result. Some development and a loss. This is a development year. Kenny had his best game, showed some promise. Hashtag keep stacking L's. But in all seriousness, though, I do get where you're coming from. It is the best of both worlds in that context because, yes, you do want to get the development because you want your team to get better. It's no point in tanking and getting a great draft pick if your team's still going to suck next year. You're just going to have a really talented player on an even suckier team. So, you're right. You want the development. You want them to keep growing. And you want to see them getting better and better as we have been seeing them in certain parts. But you do want to take the L so that we keep the good draft spot. I get your thought process, man. I get it. AJ Martinez, Master Moats, we are out of time. The season is on the line. 22, my favorite player, missed a few clear running lanes. Yuck. Yeah, but he also has some dope plays. So I'm telling you, man, that touchdown run, man, he hit out the backside and jumped. Man, that was fire. That was fire. But I'm with you. He got to get better, and he still, remember, dealt with the foot for a large portion of the season. Who even knows if he's all the way over the foot? But to me, he is getting better. He's getting closer and closer to, the Najee that we're accustomed to seeing. I thought today was another step in the right direction. Still wasn't as good as we wanted to be, but getting there. Child of the corn. What up, doe? Yo, Moats. Canada's mediocre play calls cost us in the second half. That and the lack of protection. Yes, I think both of those things were a detriment to us. Lubo, the best thing I seen from Pickett was keeping his head down downfield while scrambling. He had some throws, but in clutch moments, I don't see us being able to depend on him. Well, I get it. But once again, when we're talking about quarterbacks that you could depend on in the clutch moments that you will 100% go to war with, it's a small handful of those elite tier quarterbacks. But as I've talked to you about, it's the same elite quarterbacks each and every year. And now we're getting that new wave of like the second batch of them, but we name the same 5-6 quarterbacks every time. But it's not like those same 5-6 teams always win Super Bowls. In fact, it's the teams where it's like, man, how did that quarterback get a Super Bowl? How did they win over there? And when I look at our team, I say, man, we don't have to necessarily go back to having a Ben Roethlisberger. Yes, we would love that because that, gives you a chance every year, every game. But we're still more than capable of winning and, getting back to that confetti game with just a really good quarterback, not an elite quarterback. So when I think of Kenny, along with a lot of quarterbacks in this league, I don't think that he's elite or that you can always trust him in those clutch moments. But if I have him where he's good enough and the pieces around him are good and consistent enough, then yeah, I think we're fine. But that's what we're trying to figure out. Can we get there? And that's, like I said, we're evaluating right now, man. But hopefully we can. But we did drop 30 today, though. That's all I'm saying. Did drop 30. Damon Brown. Don't pay me any attention. I'm frustrated and need to vent. I love when you vent, Damon. Don't you ever hold back from venting, baby. You know this the vent channel for you. All right. He says, I was at the game, but I thought you already did the interview. LOL. We should pick an OC in the first. Oh, bro. He said we should pick an offensive coordinator in the first round. We can't make adjustments. Shout out to Trina. Shout out to Trina. Man, no, I hadn't already done the interview. I'm always like 90 minutes before kickoff. So yeah, I finished up around like 3:30-ish, 3:30. No, it was 3:40-ish. Maybe around that time. Yeah. I think it was around that time when I finished up, man. But it was a good time, man. Big crowd down there too, man. Big crowd. But I see you next time. You already know what it is, man. All love. But yeah. Matt Canada, we definitely need you to start working on your adjustments. That's the next step, man. We seeing you open it up now. We seeing you scheme up stuff. Guys running in the middle of the field. I'm getting that. I'm seeing you scheme up with guys running down the field wide open. I'm getting that as well. I need some more consistency, though. I need them adjustments. When them teams start to do this, to say, okay, you got all these routes, you want to do all that. Well, how you going to block this up? Okay, that's when I need you to say, you know what, I can't get cute anymore. Let me get some bigger people in here. Let me protect this up a little bit better. Maybe move the launch point for the quarterback as well. Some of the stuff like that, man, that's where he's going to have to get better. But like I said, I watched the tape, man, and I will see what second half adjustments he was either trying to make and just could not do or should have made and just did not. All right. And then Child of the Corn also said, Will Kenny be as good / better than Joey B, aka Joe Burrow? I hope so, is what he says. I hope so as well. I just don't know if he is, but I hope he can be. Heck yeah. Damon Brown. I sure hope 30 is okay. Yeah, Jalen Warren pulled the hammy. I think that's what they said. Yeah, that was unfortunate, man, because he's obviously been hot all season. And he's a dude that brings a certain element to our offense in terms of the explosiveness that he plays with out the backfield. So, yeah, definitely need him to come back ASAP. And then we got AJ Martinez wrapping it up for us. Just simply shouting out, Trina. Big time shout out to Trina. Hey. All right. Man, this was a vibe. Oh, and then shout out to the homie Law. Just pulled up at the end of the thing. Well, not at the end of the thing, but just joined in. New upper room. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, baby. Welcome to the family and greatly appreciate your support, baby. So, with that being said, though, man, that will wrap up tonight's Space Talk. Hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you like this on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And definitely hit that notification bell. Definitely got to get it done next week, though. But either way, man, y'all stay safe out there. And until next time, baby. Peace.